So why do most startups, these ambitious new ventures, actually fail? If you ask founders, you hear things like, oh, poor execution, ran out of money, the competition.
Right, the usual suspects. But Eric Ries, who really created this lean startup movement, he argues something, well, simpler and maybe more profound,
Get you.
that the biggest reason for failure isn't actually building the product badly. It's perfectly building a product that turns out nobody really wanted in the first place.
Okay, wow. Let's unpack that a bit. We're doing a deep dive today into Ries's book, The Lean Startup. It's this rigorous method, almost scientific, for building businesses that can adapt, that are resilient.
Exactly. It's like a playbook for dealing with what he calls extreme uncertainty. That's the constant companion of any new venture.
So our mission here is to explore how this whole methodology shifts things
Yeah,
away from just like guesswork and hoping for the best.
toward actual data-driven experiments. Yeah. And before we get into the nuts and bolts, we need Race's definition of a startup. It's key.
Okay, what is it?
He says a startup is simply a human institution designed to create a new product or service under conditions of extreme uncertainty.
So it's not just tech companies in Silicon Valley then?
Not at all. If you're facing that kind of unknown launching anything new, really you're effectively operating like a startup. And these ideas can help you.
Got it. So if the startup is this institution facing all this uncertainty, what's the core solution? You mentioned an engine earlier.
Yes. The absolute heart of it, the engine that drives progress, is this constant feedback loop. Build, measure, learn. This is where it gets really interesting.
Build, measure, learn. Okay, tell me about that loop.
Well, it forces you to systematically test your biggest assumptions. It starts with build. You create what's called a minimum viable product, an MVP.
Minimum viable product. We'll come back to that, I'm sure.
Definitely. But the key is, it's built specifically to test a hypothesis. Then comes measure. You get it out there and collect real data, actionable data, from actual customers.
Not just any data then.
No, not vanity stuff. We'll get into that too. And finally, learn. You analyze those results. Did the needle move? Did we learn something? And that learning dictates your next move.
It sounds, well, almost deceptively simple on the surface. Build, measure, learn.
It does, but compare it to the old way, right? Like build the whole thing over 2 years, spend millions, then launch and see what happens.
Yeah, the traditional waterfall approach.
Yeah.
Build, scale, then maybe measure if things go wrong.
Exactly what Lean Startup tries to dismantle. Because the real goal here, the point of that rapid cycle, is what Ries calls validated learning.
Validated learning. So success isn't just about shipping features or hitting early revenue targets.
Not primarily, no. Success is measured by how quickly you learn what customers actually want, what they value. This minimizes all the wasted time and effort building things nobody needs.
So the faster you go through that build, measure, learn loop,
The less waste you generate and the higher your odds of eventually finding a sustainable business model before you run out of resources. Speed of learning is the critical currency.
Okay, that makes sense. Let's go back to the build part then. The MVP, the minimum viable product, you said it's key. People hear minimum and probably think, cheap, unfinished, maybe a bit buggy.
Yeah, and that's a really common and actually dangerous misunderstanding. An MVP isn't just a half-baked version 0.1.
What is it?
It's the absolute simplest, fastest thing you can build to start gathering that validated learning about your core assumptions. It's a tool for testing a hypothesis. That's its job. Efficiency over perfection.
Can you give an example?
Yeah.
Because minimum can mean different things.
Sure. Look at Dropbox. Their core hypothesis was huge. Will people want and pay for seamless cross-device file syncing? Building that is incredibly complex and expensive.
Right, that's a massive technical challenge.
So what was their MVP? Not the full working product. It was a simple, polished demo video that showed how it would work. They measured interest based on signups from people who watched the video.
So the MVP wasn't even functional software.
Exactly. It tested the core assumption, do people want this? Without writing tons of complex code up front. Saved them potentially years of building the wrong thing.
That's clever. Any others?
Zappos is another classic, the hypothesis. Will people buy shoes online without trying them on first? A big question back then.
Still kind of is for some people.
True. So the founder didn't build a giant warehouse and inventory system. His MVP was much simpler. He went to local shoe stores, took photos of shoes.
Just like with a camera.
Yep. Put the photos online. If someone ordered a pair, he'd physically run to the store, buy the shoes, and then ship them out himself.
Wow. That doesn't scale.
Not at all. It was slow, painful, probably, but the learning. Immense. He validated the core assumption people would indeed buy shoes online with almost zero initial investment in infrastructure. That's the power of an MVP.
Okay, that really clarifies it. It's about the learning, not the product itself initially. So if we're
Mhm.
building these minimal things, the measure phase becomes absolutely critical, doesn't it? What should we be measuring? How do we avoid just, feeling good about numbers that don't mean anything?
You've hit on a crucial point. Ries calls this the war against vanity metrics. These are the numbers that look great on a PowerPoint slide.
Like website hits, total downloads, maybe social media followers.
Exactly. Things that go up and to the right make you feel good, maybe even impress naive investors. But they often tell you absolutely nothing about the health of your business or if customers actually like your product.
Hold on, though. Isn't there some value in, say, getting buzz or high traffic early on? Doesn't that help get noticed, maybe attract funding? Is vanity always bad?
That's the temptation the pressure founders feel. And maybe short-term buzz can open a door. But it's a trap if you rely on it. Buzz doesn't pay the bills, and it doesn't mean users are sticking around or finding value.
So what are the good metrics then? The non-vanity ones?
Good metrics are actionable. They're tied directly to specific customer behaviors and your core business hypotheses. Things like customer retention rates, how deeply users engage with a key feature, conversion rates, actual willingness to pay.
Stuff that tells you if the product is actually working for them.
Precisely. Actionable metrics allow you to run an experiment, change something based on your hypothesis, look at the metric, and know definitively if that change had the desired effect. They directly inform your next decision.
Which brings us to that big decision point you mentioned. The one that comes after measure and learn.
Right. The critical fork in the road. Pivot or persevere.
This sounds like the high-stakes moment. Like, do we keep going this way or do we make a hard turn?
It absolutely is. It's often the make or break decision for a startup's survival. Now, a pivot, this is important, it's not admitting failure.
Okay. What is it then?
It's a strategic course correction. It's based on the validated learning you just gathered. You're saying, okay, our core hypothesis about the market or the problem or the solution, it was flawed. The data shows it. So we're making a structured change to test a new fundamental hypothesis.
Can you give an example of a pivot?
Twitter is a famous one. They started as Audio, a podcasting platform.
Right, I remember that vaguely. Didn't take off.
No. But the team, the tech, the talent was there. They realized through learning that the podcasting idea wasn't working, but this side project of short status updates, that had potential. So they pivoted the entire company strategy.
A major shift based on learning. And the alternative is persevere.
Exactly. If the actionable metrics show you're on the right track, that you are achieving validated learning and making progress towards a sustainable model, then you persevere. You double down, you keep optimizing, you continue tuning the engine based on the current strategy.
And making the right choice quickly is crucial for not wasting runway, right? Your limited time and money.
Absolutely critical. Delaying a necessary pivot burns cash on a path that's not working. Persevering when you should pivot is just as bad.
This feels like a huge cultural shift for a company. If you're prioritizing learning speed over, say, hitting a revenue target this quarter, how do you even measure progress? How do you keep teams accountable? How do you report to investors, hey, we learned 3 really important things this month?
That's where one of the most challenging but powerful concepts comes in, innovation accounting. It's Rice's answer to tracking progress when traditional financial metrics don't apply yet.
Innovation accounting, okay, sounds different. How does that work? How does it replace a standard P&L statement for an early-stage venture?
Well, it doesn't entirely replace financial discipline long-term, but early on, it shifts the focus. Instead of forecasting revenue, which is often pure guesswork, you forecast learning milestones and improvements in key actionable metrics. Usually works in 3 steps.
Okay, lay them out for me.
First, you use your MVP to establish a baseline. What are our current conversion rates, retention rates, engagement metrics? Get the real hard numbers.
Step 1, know where you stand.
Exactly. Second, you tune the engine. You implement changes or run experiments specifically designed to improve those key baseline metrics. You make predictions. We believe this change will increase activation rate by 10%.
So you're experimenting to improve the core number.
Right. And third, you measure the results, compare them to the baseline, and based on whether you're making significant enough progress towards your target model, you make that pivot or persevere decision. The key is tying these metrics back to your engine of growth.
So instead of a finance report saying, we made X dollars, the innovation accounting report might say.
It might say, we ran experiment A testing a new onboarding flow. Our baseline activation rate was 15%. Hypothesis was this flow would increase it to 25%. Result, activation rate is now 28%. We successfully improved this key metric, moving closer to our sustainable model. We will persevere with this approach.
I see. It forces a kind of scientific rigor and honesty about what's actually working, based on data, not hope.
It fosters discipline and, importantly, humility. It reframes failure. A failed experiment isn't a failed team, it's valuable information, an insight gain that prevents you from going further down the wrong path. It encourages speed and adaptation over fear of being wrong.
Okay, so let's assume we've used innovation accounting, we've maybe pivoted once or twice, and now we've decided to persevere. We have something that seems to be working. How do we actually scale it? How do we achieve sustainable growth? Ries talks about specific engines of growth, right?
Yes, he identifies 3 primary ways that startups achieve sustainable, compounding growth. Understanding which engine powers your business is critical for knowing where to focus your optimization efforts.
What's the first one?
The sticky engine. This engine relies on high customer retention. Think subscription businesses or products where users become deeply embedded. Growth comes from adding new customers faster than you lose existing ones. The key metric here is the churn rate you need to keep it low.
So focus on keeping customers happy and engaged long term. Makes sense. What's engine number 2?
The viral engine. This is all about users bringing in other users. Growth happens naturally, sometimes exponentially, as a side effect of people using the product. Think social networks or anything with strong word of mouth.
Like the product itself spreads the product.
Exactly. The key metric is the viral coefficient, often called K. It measures how many new users each existing user brings in, on average. If K is greater than 1, you have viral growth. Product design here is crucial to encourage sharing and invites.
Okay, sticky viral. What's the third engine?
The paid engine. This applies when you primarily acquire customers through paid channels, like advertising. Growth is driven by simple but crucial unit economics.
You mean like making sure you earn more from a customer than you spend to get them?
Precisely. The customer lifetime value, LTV, must be significantly higher than the customer acquisition cost, CC. If you pay $10 to acquire a customer who only ever spends $8, you can't scale that. Growth depends on constantly optimizing that LTV-CAC ratio, ensuring paid acquisition is profitable.
Got it. So you figure out which engine fits your business, and you focus your build, measure, learn loops on optimizing that engine's key metrics.
That's the idea. Now, underpinning all of this, the rapid loops, the MVPs, the engines, is the actual execution. How do you enable this speed in learning? This brings us back to the lean philosophy's roots.
You mean like lean manufacturing principles?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Ries connects lean startup directly to ideas from Toyota, specifically things like small batches and continuous deployment.
Okay, explain small batches in this context.
Instead of working for, say, 6 months or a year to release a massive new version with 20 features, you work in much smaller chunks. Maybe you release one small feature or improvement every week or even every few days.
And why is that better? What's the benefit?
It dramatically reduces waste and risk. If you build one small feature in a week and release it, and it turns out users don't like it or it's buggy, what have you lost? Maybe a week of effort.
Okay, minimal damage.
Right. But if you work for a year on a huge release and then find out it's flawed or unwanted, you've wasted an entire year. Small batches mean you find errors and get feedback much faster, limiting the impact of mistakes and maximizing learning per unit of time.
And continuous deployment seems related to that.
It's the mechanism that enables small batches for many software companies. It means having the systems in place to release updates to customers very frequently, sometimes many times a day.
Wow, multiple times a day.
Yeah. It means every small change can be pushed live quickly. This tightens the build, measure, learn loop dramatically. You push a change, get immediate feedback through your actionable metrics, learn and deploy the next iteration. It keeps the learning cycle incredibly fast and responsive to real customer behavior.
So, bringing this all together, what's the big picture takeaway for you, our listener? Whether you're actually launching a tech startup or maybe just managing a new project within a larger company.
I think the core shift is moving away from the idea of a big, static, upfront plan or a grand vision that must be executed perfectly.
Towards a process of continuous, systematic learning and adaptation, replacing rigid assumptions with validated learning through experiments.
Exactly. It's about building organizations that are resilient, that expect uncertainty, and have the tools and the mindset to navigate it. It's about discipline, the discipline to run experiments, to measure honestly with innovation accounting, and crucially, the humility to pivot when the data tells you to.
So the ultimate goal isn't just launching a product. It's building a sustainable organization that constantly evolves to meet real customer needs based on evidence.
That's the heart of it. Thriving because of uncertainty, not despite it.
It really is a different way of thinking about building things. Which leads us with a final thought for you to consider. If the real goal is validated learning, what's one core assumption you're currently holding on to in your work, your career, maybe even your life, that you could challenge today with a small, quick, cheap MVP